Roger Waters, who, as we pointed out, was somebody who had spoken out vehemently against what Israel had been doing for so long. And we saw what happened with Howard Stern. Well, in more friendlier confines, credit where credit is due, friend of the show, we're happy to say, Chris Hedges did have him on the other day. And here's what he had to say.
They purport to defend these values that they betray.
Yeah. Yeah, Blair, after Margaret Thatcher came in and to destroy England.
Seriously.
I don't know if you know what her popularity ratings were until the Malvinas, until the Falklands War.
They were very low.
2%. Suddenly, she has a small war.
Yeah, of course.
And boom, she's a great heroine. She was a disgusting person. And she was not stupid like Trump. She actually got a perfectly decent 2-1 or something from a college in Oxford University, where you have to actually study something.
You have to read books.
You have to, you have to read books. And Blair was just the follower. Blair said, let's sell the Great Britain that was created by an Arian Bevan and Clement Attlee and Wedgwood Ben and Michael Foot and some left wing.
There is such thing as being too white.
Oh, those are some white people. Yeah, that's some whiteness.
Like just some like the most extreme type of whiteys. I
also see. Yeah, I mean, it's not a good look. And I can't even say, oh, it's a man thing. I wish I could, but Thatcher is one of the worst. So, there's that.
Me? Maggie Thatcher, wasn't she a dame?
Just a white English Reagan. I can't.
Yeah.
Labour politicians and Jeremy Corbyn attempted to get back into that kind of trend. Excuse my French. We'll put that to one side and we'll just sell out to the American model. We'll sell out to the corporations. And John Pilger, our late great friend,
great
John,
journalist.
He made a wonderful movie about the National Health Service. And there's a scene in it where a lady who's been a nurse all her life and carried on trying to work in a hospital that was taken over by an American corporation. And she actually I'm nearly breaking down now. She breaks down in front of the camera saying, we realized that we weren't there to look after people. She said, I'd been looking after people in the National Health Service for 25 years. And suddenly it wasn't that. It was how much profit can we make out of each body?
And this is coming from somebody who is in his 70s, who is from a country that at one time was considered to have one of the best healthcare systems in the world. And you compare that to what we have. This is just
he's been sounding alarms on a lot of these things for a really long time. He was almost like Roger Waters, like the musician's version of the canary in the coal mine with a lot of this stuff, because he's been calling it for a while.
The problem with the problem that has always been the case with Waters is that he could come off like a real asshole, and there are people who don't like that. I don't care how you say it. Just give me the truth. That's what matters. Being nice about empire destroying the world, I don't know why that has to be presented in such a rosy and fluffy way.
Well, first of all, nothing about Chris Hedges I would call rosy and fluffy. So, he is also someone that comes off disgruntled and curmudgeonly to me, because when somebody's bright and they know what's going on, it's hard to see what they see and not have it affect you. And there's a lot of things to be very angry and grumpy about.
No, I agree.
And he's serious.
And if we can't make a profit out of them, kick them out the door. And that's the model. And we know that. You don't have to live in North America very long to understand that is how it works. And the only people who are profiting or making are the insurance companies and Big Pharma. And the care of the patient is completely lost, except for the very, very wealthy.
Well, and it's worse here in the United States, where you have private insurance, private.
That's what I'm talking about. The
Yeah,
United States.
it's legally permissible to hold sick children hostage while their parents bankrupt and themselves trying to save their sons or daughters. That's the system we
Yep.
advocate, and of course what they do is they starve the national health system. They're doing the same thing in Canada to break it, to destroy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to do it there. It's amazing to me that where we are an American empire and in our downfall, that the world in so many ways is witnessing and laughing at to some extent, is how ridiculous we are. But that there still are these empires or countries, nation states that want to mimic what we're doing. And it's like, because their oligarchs got a little taste of it and they're like, oh, we could profit off of everything like they do over there. And I just don't think that their people, and I don't know enough about like the UK, but like they're not having it in France. I could tell you that, like there's certain places that are just not going to stand for it. I can't imagine they'd stand for it in Ireland.
Well, no, of course not. But Ireland is even more bold. Ireland has been discussing the prospect of actually sending troops to fight for the Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. Like that's the type of action that Roger Waters would advocate for. Because in the end, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. There really is a sort of lost notion that it is acceptable to be quiet. And this is also the whole point about speaking out against this insane system that we live under today, whether it is domestically with our healthcare, our education, our water, our air, our economic prospects, because we live in a full-blown oligarchy that is dancing in the moonlight with fascism. And then you factor in our foreign policy, which, again, Roger Waters, he may be a Brit, but he has been screaming from the rooftops, ringing the alarm bells for multiple decades now. And while he could potentially be one to say, I told you so, he continues to do these interviews from his home studio and continues to put that message out there that eventually you're going to have to make a stand. You cannot run away from this. There are way too many people who think they can run away from this. And guys, we have 170 people watching right now. Only 100 of you have hit that like button. If you could, please smash it. We would really appreciate it. All that makes a huge difference in getting the message out there to more people. I like Roger Waters, not just because I think Pink Floyd is an all-time great rock band. I like the fact that unlike Springsteen, he actually means what he says. He doesn't run away from it. He never has. And in the end, yeah, Bruce might be richer than him, but when you're at that level, who gives a shit? You're already rich. What's the difference between 200 and 300 million?
You'd have to ask somebody who's had that much money.
That's true.
I can't tell you the difference between 200 and 300 million.
How about 100? Could you tell me that difference?
Point being, yeah, wealthy is wealthy, but there are people that do have other priorities. So
true.
Yeah. So this comes back, Chris, to ordinary people standing shoulder to shoulder from the river to the sea. Sumud. Perseverance, steadfast perseverance is what the word sumud means. And that is what we have to show, but we have to make as much noise while showing it as possible to encourage the young, particularly. I always said that the Holy Land, the question of the Holy Land the battle was going to be fought on the campuses of American university. Yeah. I was saying this 15, 20 years ago, okay, and it turns out that's correct. And look how Columbia University in New York City has capitulated completely, and it's now they've moved now to accept the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which is insane and has been adopted by 35 state jurisdictions. That is now the official definition of anti-Semitism.
Well, and I just want to interrupt you, Roger, because they've codified it to add examples, which in essence say that any criticism of the Israeli state is anti-Semitic. I was just at the Trenton State Capitol testifying against the adoption of the measure. The committee unanimously passed it for approval. It goes to the Senate. But immediately when I began, they muted my mic, and the Zionists jeered and shouted me down, along with Roz Stiegel, an Israeli genocide scholar. So there we were arguing that this measure would curb or shut down free speech, and we weren't allowed free speech.
Yeah, that again, and I would argue again that even if we follow that definition of anti-Semitism, and even if we say that criticizing Israel is anti-Semitic, I still say, so the fuck what? People are allowed to be anti-Semitic if they want to.
I'm anti-Semitic. Fuck Israel.
That they're not the Semites.
I know.
That's the irony of it, is that the people we don't like aren't even the Semites. I could, but even again, even if it were anti-Semitism, to say so now we're prohibited from saying things about that. That's content control. That's a violation of the First Amendment. It doesn't matter if it's anti-Semitic or not. That's what's so frustrating to me.
For those of you that are here that are new and are becoming accustomed to our channel, Jen, you have been speaking about this for the longest time, that it is inevitable that Jew hatred is going to reach a fever pitch in this country.
Oh, yeah.
Because the people that are Jewish, that are rabid Zionists, they do this essentially from ivory towers. They do it from places where people can't reach them. And so the natural inclination, which is the hardest part, which is why I always revert back in the early stages of this massacre, this genocide. I wanted to scream at Miss Rachel when she's out there saying for the 50,000 kids that are dead. No, more like 250,000 kids are dead. And so what I think a lot of people are missing here is, if you remember at the very beginning, when there was the pro-Palestine protest in Manhattan that featured a lot of the Hasidic Jews that were waving the Palestinian flag. Yeah. And then you had that blonde Ashkenazi woman that came up with the tears in her eyes. You're not a Jew. You're not a Jew. And then, of course, you had Jacob Berger, who always, to his credit, is like, I'm wearing the Star of David. I'm a Jew, and I'm Ashkenazi, and I'm free Palestine. What the hell are you going to do about it? The reason they're able to get away with this is because they control the levers of money and power in this country. It's not because they are liked. It's not because people agree with them. And as Jen has pointed out time and again, a substantial portion of the algorithm and the likes and comments that you see on social media, especially on X Twitter, are from bots and bot farms. And this are not actual people that believe this stuff. Ayal Yacobi, who I constantly point out because he's one of the worst. His father is an Israeli national who is also a professor at my fucking alma mater, which drives me insane. Kid grew up wealthy in Princeton, New Jersey, not too far from where Mr. Hedges lives. I'm sure he's well aware of this little snot-nosed piece of crap. But these are the people that we have to deal with on a regular basis, not because they have the people behind them, but because they have the levers of power behind them for now. For now.
Yaha. Hasidic Jews are for all Jews to Israel, but only via the Messiah. Correct. But the key point is that it isn't the ethno-state of Israel that they're seeking. When they're talking about what Zion is, it's a vision. It's a utopia. It's not a geo-state. It's not a nation-state. It's not a political thing. So, but yes. Peter kind of looks like Willem, and it's Willem Dafoe when the Green Goblin takes over in that mirror scene. I could see it. He kind of has that. He's got the, yeah, it's a little creepy. Don't do that.
What do you mean? No, the two most common celebrities that I've got in my life are Steve Buscemi and Tom Wilson, who played Biff in Back to the Future. Those are the two most common that I've got.
I could see that, but I could also see Willem Dafoe in that. I could see that.
Ironically, my father has always been, everyone's always telling them my father reminds them of Tim Robbins. And I saw
I could see that.
I finally saw the Hudsucker Proxy for the first time. And there is a scene in the movie where Tim Robbins' character and Steve Buscemi's character are having a conversation in this beatnik bar. And I'm like, am I talking to my father?
That's kind of weird, right?
It was. That was the first thing I thought. I was like, holy shit, this is pretty outrageous. So, yeah, but I'm sorry. We like to have positive banter, but now we got to bring it back down.
We have to go back to, the bad stuff.
Misery. Misery loves company. So here we go.
Which gets into, kind of Alice in Wonderland world. But that's all of these creeping steps are very, very frightening. And
Very.
I think what's shocked me is the rapidity, how fast it's coming in the United States.
Yeah. No, it is. Yeah, it's very rapid and it's very, very scary. People spit on me, and literally, and I go, "Wow, wow, why?" And they spitting on me because I believe in human rights. That's the only That's why you oppose the IHRA definition, because it doesn't believe in human rights. Yeah. It believes in genocide.
Is he wrong?
That they believe in genocide?
Yeah.
The Israelis? That's the whole premise of their existence. That's what people don't understand. This isn't a one-off. It's not just, it's a bad time. Israel's just in a bad way. This leadership, the Likud party, Benjamin Netanyahu. No, this is the inevitable end result of the Zionist project. It was always intended to ethnically cleanse that region. That was always the plan. So the concept, that's why the whole idea of a two-state solution is ridiculous and always has been ridiculous, because this was always the plan.
Well, on top of everything else, you've still got people out there spewing the two-state solution bullshit. Like, why do they keep doing
that's Zio talking point 101?
Not only that, but they keep on giving the same talking point about how many dead Palestinians there really is. And it isn't just like a slight undercount, it is a substantial undercount.
Well, they can't get the numbers. But they can't get numbers. That's the design of it. That was on purpose. That's why that's why they stopped letting journalists in. That's why they won't allow anybody to excavate the rubble. That's why they don't want those numbers to be released. So nobody will have those numbers until we get an accounting of who's left. We're only going to know how many people were killed in this Holocaust based on how many Palestinians are left that were in Gaza when all is said and done. That's the only way we're going to get the numbers. So, and to speculate anything else is just, they have nothing else that they can do.
It says, Israel could commit genocide. And if you oppose it, that is anti-Semitic. That is a hate crime, Roger. Opposing the Israeli policy of genocide, that thing where they've got them now and they're funneling into them and pretending that they're going to give them food, and then they shoot them. They're shooting them. Yeah, well,
it's just bait. They bait. It's to lure starving Palestinians to the south. They only give food at 4 hubs for an hour a day. It is highly inadequate. It's exactly what they did in the Warsaw Ghetto, where the Nazis starved the residents of the Warsaw Ghetto and then offered loaves of bread if you would get on the trains. That is exactly the same tactic.
Yes, it is exactly the same tactic. So the big battle is in the hearts and minds of men. So we come back always to the propaganda battle. Is Rupert Murdoch going to win the battle, or are you and I going to win the battle? Because and what do we have on our side, Chris? We have love and truth on our side. Rupert Murdoch and Trump and Starmer and all they have on their side is greed and hatred and lies. So you would think that you understand then why billions of people all over the global south, but all over the West as well, are going, nada más. They see ordinary people, they can tell the difference between love and hate.
Yeah.
I know they can. I get emotional even talking about it.
Well, I knew Václav Havel. I covered the Velvet Revolution. I
Right.
was in the Magic Lantern Theater with him every night. And he talked about this, which is really what you're saying, is he called it living in truth.
See, that's an artist. But it's living in truth. When you're living in truth, it's very powerful. You feel often that you're being defeated, and we are being gaslit. There is no doubt about it. On a daily basis, we're being gaslit, and it is hard to maintain a certain sense of like self and not like comfort with self when you feel like, what am I seeing, and why is nobody seem to be noticing this? But we have truth on our side, and that is a very powerful thing.